Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tat Chat number 137. Let me just repeat that, 137. The weekly reseller live stream.
Hold on.
Yeah, no worries.
So, yeah.
The weekly reseller live stream panel chat. The panel tonight thus far is just going to be myself and
me. I did message a few people. Yeah, a bit of a lack of communication and organisation as usual. So we haven't really got anything organised or planned. So apologies for that.
Yeah,
my blames are here because it's easy.
Yeah, it's my week, so yeah, I'll take it on the chin. We'll say a few hellos. Yeah, one of those days where it's just gotten away. Like literally, you feel like things are under control, and then all of a sudden you get mad busy and have to do all kinds of, regular house stuff, and it goes out of control.
Exactly.
We have gotten Lucy T, Andrew, Kay Horsley, Peter Ray. Hi, Peter. BCP's in there as well. Mr. Diggs. So hi, everybody. Richard Payne. George Ross has popped in as well. The regulars are in so far, which is fantastic. Thank you for popping in, guys. It is going to be like our normal kind of, go through the week, I suppose, how things have been, what we've been up to, what you guys have been up to. If you've got any questions or comments, and we'll kind of take it from there. John Virgo and Death by Glamour as well, and DM are my favorite time of the week. Chat time.
Right.
Wow.
Just give me a minute to hear. Carry on.
No, sure. I'm humbled by that, but at the same time, I can't help but feel a little bit sorry for you if this is your favorite time of the week. But I do appreciate it, and so does Nick. And so thank you for joining us. Right, Mr. Crap in the Attic says hi as well. So how are you doing? Paradox Picker, Catherine. Hope you guys are doing well. How's your sales been going? I hope they've been going well. Hope you've been getting some ka-chings. It's been a bit, it's been steady here, so hopefully it's been steady for you guys as well. Shelster Rooney. DM says little amuses me. Okay, no worries. Okay, Lisa Curry as well. Hi there, Lisa. Panzer says hello as well. Fantastic. So Nick, we're just having a little chat about this just the second before we literally went live. I said I saw your garage trail video, and it looked really interesting because you guys have been on a couple of them, but I can't help but feeling that it's like what a lot of people over in the States have these, don't they, where they go out every weekend and they have to kind of go from people's front garden to front garden. It just seems like a lot more effort required as opposed to just driving to a car boot sale. I mean, what's your opinion on it? You were saying
I guess it is because, as you say, you have to drive there and then hunt around for all the different stalls. But I mean, they only tend to be on for like 3 or 4 hours, but then that's a fair chunk of time. We actually did 2 in that weekend. The one in the video was a little village one, and then the day after was a town. It had 65 stalls. We couldn't even get round them all in the allotted time. Wow. There was no way I was filming it. It would have been like 2 hours long.
That's a lot of houses to get around.
Yeah, we were shattered. We came home and just fell asleep. We were absolutely shattered. But the pickings were so good. I think you get a different mix of people going round. The regular dealers aren't necessarily aware of it or aren't necessarily there. So, and it's good fun. It's more of a treasure hunt. You know, at a car boot sale, it's just the same old, isn't it? You're just walking up and down the aisles. This is with a treasure map, running around, hunting. You never know what you're going to find.
And like, do you think it's because maybe the people that you're going to, because they're at home, do you think that maybe plays like a part of it? You know, like because they're just chilling, you know, they set up in their living room and they know, or their front garden, and they know that once they're finished, all they've got to do is, you know, go through the front door and they're home, as opposed to.
It does is it attracts a different sort of person that perhaps wouldn't go to a field on a Sunday morning, but they're happy to just open their front door and put some stuff out. I mean, and also there was quite a lot of bulky stuff. There was a lot of, if you're into picking up, you know, furniture.
Well, I mean, I saw that you said there was someone trying to give you a piano, wasn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, a woman was trying to give away like a proper piano, and we were like, "That's lovely and all, but A, I'm in a
Yeah.
Mini right now, and B, but if you are a dealer in bigger stuff, you have a Transit, you can whiz around, you could get some crazy deals on the bulky stuff that, like you say, because they're at home, they just bring out an old chair or a bike or a surfboard or whatever it is. So it doesn't really cater to us particularly, but yeah, they're interesting. Have you seen any up where you are now?
No.
No.
No, I mean I've seen like the odd person, like when I've been randomly driving, I've seen like the odd person hold their own, like their own sale in their front garden,
Yeah.
just to get rid of some stuff, but nothing organized that I've seen, nothing like actually organized. But by
Yeah,
the looks of the chat, it is something that's starting to perhaps catch on.
I
I've
think where
yeah,
we are, it certainly is. I mean, the last couple of years, we must have been to 7 or 8 now.
just starting to
So I
pick
think the
up.
southeast is where it maybe is catching on. We had plans to do one ourselves or organise one in Hitchin this year, just haven't got around to it. So maybe next year for that. But
Oh
yeah,
gosh, Catherine McConnell says just been 5/6 explosions here and smoke all over the fields. Lots of emergency vehicles, but don't know what happened.
wow.
What? That sounds pretty.
Where is that? Does she say
Yeah,
where?
that's crazy sounding. No, she hasn't done. Alia says there was one near me once. I missed it though. I'm assuming talking about the yeah, like the kind of garage
Oh,
travel.
was it Catherine McConnell, did you say?
Yeah, it was
In
Catherine.
France, near Lassay-les-Châteaux, have looked on Google but can't find anything. Oh my God.
Ah. So it could be some more bad
I
news.
hope that's not terrorism. Let's hope it's just something random.
Mm.
Wow.
Not like yeah, I hate to say it, but it's not likely, is it? It's likely to be. If it is something like that, sounds it. Alia says, is this garage thing a summer thing or all year round?
The ones we've gone to have tended to be spring, summer. I guess just for weather reasons. Why would you set one up in the winter when it's likely to be raining or snowing? Nobody.
And I mean, Lee's Fine says too many hills in Wales to do garage sales, need to be super fit, and I'm not. And actually, that's just kind of got me to thinking that perhaps one of the reasons that it's these types of sales are not the the go-to thing, might well be because not all our houses in the UK are necessarily suited to it. I mean, I did see some ingenious couples setting up their stall at a local bus stop, because they don't, because you've got to remember, a lot of houses don't have front lawns or front gardens.
Well, that house, yeah, exactly. That house
Yeah.
was on the high street. They had no front garden, so
A terrace, yeah.
literally put it all over the seats and that in the bus stop, which was bizarre, but it worked.
So you think about it, and maybe it is some of it's going to come down to that the areas in which you might have to go to find one of these things, you may have to go to areas where maybe it's like a new housing development where there's like you get those developments that turn up which have got like 3-4+ bedroom houses or whatever, and maybe in the future you might see sales in places like that, but it can't be everywhere, especially if you're living in a city.
I honestly think it's more to do with trends. I mean, we understand what a boot sale is. That makes sense to us. It seems the norm. Whereas in America, they're like, a what? It doesn't kind of compute, although they have similar sort of flea markets. It's just what people are used to, isn't it? And it's becoming quite common down here.
But I think it's also where you live, though, because even in America, I doubt very much that you're going to have those in like, in like the metropolis, are you? Like because over there, the living arrangements are the same, aren't they? A lot of people living in apartments, in high rises. So in those areas, it
wouldn't work like in New York or something.
Exactly. So it has to be. It has to be. You've got to be in, like, I suppose, in the suburbs really to benefit. So if you're not in the suburbs, then that just means you're going to have to travel to there. And likewise, if you're living out in a really rural area, where everything's super spread out and not easy to get to, chances are you probably won't have many turning up in that point. I think you've got to have that certain style of area to where it'll be suitable, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, going back to the video, the one on the Saturday was in a village, and that worked really well.
Mm.
Only a relatively small village, but they had about 30 stalls. And then the second one was in a town, and it was almost too many because we couldn't get around them. The
Yeah,
stall holders were moaning that people weren't turning up
because
because
it's just
there was too many for everyone to get around. So some stalls had a handful of people rock up.
wow.
And
Which,
in some cases,
yeah,
that paid off in our benefit. But
because you got away with some
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just reading, Adrian says, never seen or heard of any garage sales in Leicestershire. Even a jumble sale is hard to come by. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, jumble sales are very much local knowledge. I think jumble sales are very much like, looking at your local supermarket notice board, or if you've got like the church notice board, if they tend to, because they tend to hold them often at churches and at schools. So if there's no notice boards around for that, it
It's
tends
really
to.
worth digging and finding out, because we've managed to find two that are regularly held now.
Mm,
You've probably seen us go to the same ones. We went to one at the weekend. I don't know if you saw, Andrea picked up a barber jacket.
yeah,
I don't know if you saw that, for 50p, and we're going to push you 150 on it.
exactly. Yeah, it's
It's just
amazing.
crazy. And in answer to RJ, was this a jumble trail? Yeah, it was a jumble trail. The one that was in the video, I think I put up yesterday or the day before. Yeah, they're a great way to source stock. We really enjoy it. Came away with a
Mixes
few
it up.
goodies.
I mean, like you said though, what was interesting is that you said that you think it draws out slightly different sellers, which is nice as well. Is it kind of
I
just
think it does. If it's a charity run thing or locally organized, people will either know the organizer or want to support the charity and think, yeah, why not? I'll sell some stuff. But those people may never consider rocking off in their car to a field with a bunch of other people in the morning. Wouldn't even cross their mind. So you get stuff out of people's houses that otherwise would never see the light of day. So I think you do see fresh stock. You see different stock. Depending on the area, you see some really expensive, like those wellies. We got this
the
pair.
the hunters.
See that?
Yeah, I saw those. Yeah,
Never been worn in a box. I mean, we did pay a fair bit for them, but it's stuff that I don't think would get taken to a boot sale, is my point.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people nowadays will obviously just use other platforms to sell those things, won't they? So it's not. But I think it's also a good reminder, though, that it really does matter. Like the geography of where you're sourcing is important. And I know we've talked about this before, but it's something that should always be at the forefront of your mind, because you might be like a super hardworking person that's out there and pounding the pavement, but if you're doing it in the wrong areas, there is that element of working smart as well as working hard. And it sometimes we all like to think that if we work hard enough, things will work out for you, but that's not this complete story. And I think it does pay to kind of visit as many different areas, because there are differences. There really are. I mean, Beck and I, we've sourced all over up here now, and we know there's certain areas where we're just likely to find significantly better things. It's not coincidence that you go to a certain area and you find higher value items. It does tend to make sense.
Yeah, some people that we chat to that we see at jumble sales, they travel a long way to go to these jumbles that we go to. Like from sort of North London, they'll come all the way out to the sticks because they can pick up stuff super cheap.
Yeah.
And the same people from around here, they regularly go up to Cambridge way. We don't tend to travel that far, but I'm starting to see that it's well worth it. And for these yard sale trail, garage sale trail, whatever you want to call them, I think we would travel farther than we have been now.
Because you've seen decent.
Yeah. I mean, Richard says there lots of really good boot sales here in the West Midlands, but never seen jumble trails. Jumble sales occasionally, but always rubbish. So yeah, maybe it is concentrated in the southeast at the minute. So what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I was just saying traveling. It definitely is something that I remember that a lot as well. Where when you get to see the regular faces and you get talking to them, and then you realize that they're traveling from quite far away, because to get to the same car boot, and it's worth it, because it's
some of the people that I've spoken to recently that do tend to travel out further. They really are specialists. There's a guy who's into his antiques. He tends to pick up small collectible antiques and really knows his stuff. There's a woman that just hoovers up all the shoes. She will travel miles to buy up all the decent shoes at a sale somewhere. And it's fascinating. People really do niche down, and that's one way of approaching this, as we've discussed before.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I was just reading there. Chris is in Tat on the Tyne. He says they've not reached Newcastle yet, but I can certainly see the appeal for sellers, and that's a good point, because we asked at these sales, and I think it was either free or just a couple of pounds to cover the printing of the maps and stuff. So virtually no outlay. You don't have to leave your house. They tend to start reasonably, like about 10 or 11, the ones we've been going to.
And is there any fee for the sellers to pay at all?
No, that's what I'm saying.
No
I
fee.
know some it's like £5, which goes to charity, or others it's a couple of quid to cover the admin of the organizer.
So no petrol, no getting stuck in a horrible traffic jam because of a badly organized car park.
You don't have to pack a car. You don't have to then unpack a car. You just set it up outside your house or in your front garden.
And you can actually get that sale that sometimes you might lose at a car boot because you've forgotten like the remote, or you've forgotten an important part of whatever you've bought to sell, because you can just nip inside and grab it.
Yeah. Or you may have seen in the video I put out that we walked in and they had some heavier sort of bulky stuff out on the driveway, and then we just turned into their garage. It was just their stuff on the shelves in the garage. We were just picking stuff off the shelves. Like, I've got that nice vintage Sony radio and a PSP Slim, just randomly on shelves in the garage. So yeah, it's so much easier. I can see the appeal, and I think it's going to continue to grow.
Let's go through some of the comments in the chat. Okay, I had thought about traveling far to go to an auction if I can get a big haul, says Paul. I mean, the thing is, if you're confident enough, and like Nick mentioned, that a lot of people that travel tend to travel because tend to also be specialists in a certain niche. So that now that can be a good or bad thing depending on what's available when you get there, but it tends to be that people that are niched in something are going to be relatively comfortable and confident in their ability to source, and they wouldn't travel unless they felt that there was something on offer that they can't get around them. And to be fair, the same applies, like you said, traveling far to go to an auction. It doesn't have to just be for a car boot or for a jumble sale or a jumble trail. You can travel far for an auction. You can travel far for a haul. Oh, gosh, yeah, you can travel far for anything. It can be as long as you're confident in your ability to source a good deal. You should be willing to travel anywhere. I mean, there are plenty of people that will travel the length of the country.
Definitely.
And it makes complete sense. I mean, you can make a complete trip out of it. I mean, it always reminds me of a story like ages ago when I went and bought something from someone off of eBay, actually, to resell, and they used to go and travel all around the country buying at auctions, fill up a van. Well, the husband would actually go, he'd go off and then he'd bring back a stack of stuff. Then his wife would be left to list it. She was like heavily pregnant, and you can see like their house was like crammed with stuff, and he was off again traveling the country buying bunches of stuff. And it works if you've got the determination to get out there.
Wow, that's quite an arrangement. That's
it was. I felt bad for her because it's like,
I know. Hi, honey, I'm home with a van load of crap. I'm off again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he'd come back as well, but he must have just been away on it must have been a good auction somewhere, and
Paul was saying there we should start a group to organise a UK-wide garage trails. There was a website that was organising them, and I think that stopped running. But they're not difficult to organise at all, especially with Facebook now. That the two that we did, I think both of them had a Facebook group. So you would promote it on there, have all the information on there, publish the map on there so people can download and print it. And then even to the point where sellers were going on there and sharing some pictures of some of the stuff they've got, their address. I'm going to have a stall. I've got these video games. I've got this furniture, etc. So you can home in on a specific stall if you're if you really want to. So they're actually easy to. And then Al said, have either of you thought about setting one up yourself to get the idea out there in your area? Yes, Andrew and I have been talking about it for the last year and not got it organized. But yeah, we're going to do one in Hitchin. See how it goes.
Yeah, personally, I'm not sure it's something that I'd be into. I'm happy just buying in bulk and leaving it at that at the moment. So I'm kind of like, it sounds like it's a really good alternative, because it sounds like brings out the old good, the halcyon days of car boots almost. It sounds like, do you know what I mean? Like people bringing out their stuff, the stuff that normally now you struggle to see at car boots. But
there was a lovely mix of stuff that we picked up. It was great, and I hope it showed in that haul. The range of stuff. Like Andrew got that 1960s wicker leather lined bag for a couple of quid, and the contrast with some of the media and stuff I got, and it was just great.
Well, some of the prices seemed really good as well, like 20 pence and stuff for CDs and whatever. It's not like the usual
although we did go to some stores where it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's always the same. You can't escape it. But yeah.
What other comments? Chris also says, as a buyer, you could probably get the electric items to be shown as working too. I mean, another advantage, definitely. If you can get around them, it is fantastic. I'm the legend is in the chat. Ash, hi Ash, how are you? Okay, let's go down the chat. Richard Payne says, Karen,
I travelled further afield last week to a boot sale. A lot more family sellers there rather than traders. Wouldn't do it every week, but occasionally. Yeah, there's a couple that we, once a month maybe we'll go that bit further too. It's definitely interesting. And then Paul says, talking of regional, I'm from Birmingham, went to a car boot last week in Devon on holiday, loads of wetsuits and surfboards. Never been a surf. Never seen a surfboard at a boot fair here in Birmingham. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, when we were down south, we used to travel an hour to our boot sales every week, even though we had ones which were closer, because they proved to be consistently better. So it's definitely something that need to do. And up here, unfortunately, we've not really done that. We've not really had to in the end. We've ended up just getting in bulk. But if we were going out looking like seriously for more stuff, I definitely would.
RJ says far. Jumble Trail has 4.5 thousand members on Facebook. So there's a Facebook group called Jumble Trail.
Oh, must be.
If that's the one Andrea uses. She tends to do the research for these and find them.
Paul says, this guy you're talking about, he sounds like Drew Pritchard. What guy? I wasn't.
The guy.
The guy I was talking about. Yeah, no. It wasn't. It definitely wasn't. not in Thornton Heath. Oh gosh, if anyone hasn't watched, video here on YouTube, have a look. It's funny, says BCP. Well, like a comedy video about him. Baz says takes me 40 minutes to get to the closest car boot. Oh, that's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, we used to travel, like I said, 50 minutes to an hour every week to get to ours. If it's worth it, it's worth it. Sometimes it's not worth just taking the easy route. If you have one that's close that's not great, it's like banging your head against a brick wall, isn't it? I mean, it just because it's close doesn't make it the best option.
Yeah, and I suppose I was just reading George's comment there. It says, I love the odd jumble and yard sale, but they don't have the real good punchy items that I pick up regularly at car boot and auctions. Because I know George goes for those, kind of one-off, unique, sometimes big, bulky items. But to be honest, at the couple of yard sales we went to, there was stuff like that. We weren't really set up for that because we had the Mini and we filled it up quite quick. But yeah, I think George, you'd have liked the one we were at. Certainly the Village one.
Or what about high ticket items? Were there any people selling like high ticket type of items? I think because that's something that you can sometimes pick up at auctions and sometimes at car boots.
Yeah, there was a few bits like that. It was interesting because the village was quite an affluent village. although it also had areas that like council estates, etc., around the back of this village. So it was like a real mix, but there was some really higher end stuff with pretty big tickets on it. Yeah, it was interesting.
Lord Ahab says hello. I bet jumble sales are now popular because of Peppa Pig's jumble sale episode. I didn't even know there was a Peppa Pig's jumble sale episode.
Excellent. Corey says getting to car boots is even harder when you can't drive. Yeah, I'll say.
I mean, Steve had that issue, didn't he? Having to get on the bus.
Oh, that was you ka-ching him, was it?
Yeah. I've just got an auction running. Someone just bid. Yeah, like
yeah, when I chatted to Steve, which was really great to finally get to chat with him. Yeah, he's still getting the bus into town at the weekend to go charity shopping and to the boot sale. Yeah, that does sound like hard work in my head. I'm so used to driving.
Yeah, it would make things next to impossible. Question for Z. I saw a CD multi-changer I could have bought, but wasn't sure how I could test it. Any ideas? Plug it in when you get home, Paul. There's not really, I mean, when you say a CD multi-changer,
car one.
Yeah, if you mean a car one, then I don't really deal with the car stuff. So, you know, but again, it would just be a case of whether you want to take the risk on it. Normally, I'd stay away from CD multi-changes because they don't tend to be like massively valuable anyway. There's only a few that I would look out for. If you ever see a Sony one, Sony do one which has got like a carousel jukebox system which holds like 200 CDs, but it's for a hi-fi. That can be worth money. But as you can imagine, you know, you want to make sure that, you know, it is fully working and there's a lot of moving parts and whatnot. But for car ones, I'm sorry, I can't really help.
Yeah, he says it's for a car. I've only dealt in car stereos a couple of times, and I've sold them as untested. Sold a scene. I never had any issue though.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was selling them the lower end of what they go for because they were untested.
I mean, it's not something I know about really. So, yeah.
Well, it says the Kenwood worth about 40 quid.
Fair enough. George Ross says he's seen the Peppa Pig episode about 200 times, thanks to 2 young daughters growing up. Oh wow, lucky for me.
When Ellen was small, it was Tweenies and Fimbles. What was it when your kids were little? What were they into?
I can't remember. I remember Pocoyo. And
yeah, I remember that.
I remember some random things. Night Garden. Night Garden was big for a bit. A lot of SpongeBob through the years. A lot of SpongeBob. Even now,
SpongeBob's quite funny actually.
Yeah, SpongeBob is hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, I don't remember Peppa Pig, thankfully, which is good. Corey says I picked up a jersey last week in a charity shop for £1 and it's selling for 199 to 250 pounds. Who said charity shops would do?
Jersey, like a jumper.
Wow,
that's mad. Oh, Marcella, I'm going to a junk trail next month. It takes you to all the little forgotten thrift antique shops out of the way to encourage the people to go. The shops have raffles for everyone who stops by. Oh, that's a clever little idea.
Yeah, to get some footfall back in. Yeah. Corey, that's a fantastic find. Everyone feels good when they find something. I think it's like charity shops are most certainly not going to be dead because no matter what the pricing is like, there's always going to be certain stuff that gets overlooked. And, you know, whilst item A might be overpriced, there's always going to be something else in there that probably isn't. He says it's a champion basketball jersey. I found a signed rugby shirt too.
I saw you right, a jersey. Yeah, they call that. Yeah, the little shirts. Yeah, I know what you mean now.
Yeah. I
found a signed rugby shirt too. Wow.
Richard Payne says put off by car stereos because of the codes, etc. Some genuine ones worth decent money. Yeah, I think it's probably the same. I wouldn't say it's the same for me. I'd say I'm just not interested in them. So I've never been, you know, just it's something that just hasn't interested me ever to pick up. I've seen so many over the years. I'm sure I've left stacks and stacks of money behind, but it's never been something that I like. Even I knew that if I bought it, I wouldn't test it. and so I thought I'm not going to buy it.
But if it's cheap enough, I think sometimes it's still worth going on. I ended up with, I think it was something I didn't really mean to buy. It was in with a load of gear. And what it was a Volkswagen vintage, sort of late 80s, early 90s, the original stereo that came in like a Golf or something. So people who go back to those classic cars and want them as factory, these things are really sought after because people change them out for CD players, etc.
Yeah.
But it was a lockable code one, and I had no way of unlocking it, but people do it. So I sold it for, I don't know what it was, 30 quid or something to somebody who, it was obvious by his account, unlocks these things and then sells them for like 80 or whatever it was. So, but yeah, if you can get it for a couple of quid, it's still worth selling it on to someone who will deal with it and pass it on to the end user.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
It just comes down to like how many things are you going to get into?
I know. I battle with it, as you know.
Yeah, so I just, you get to the point where I'm like, I don't know, there's so many things you could be picking up. So
I know. Where does it end? Hi, how are you? Says, yeah, I sold some stereos as untested last week. Only real way to test is to connect to a car, as you need to test speakers and radio, CD, etc. If you make up a test jig, if you could make up a test jig if you sell a lot, exactly, but then you'd really need to be specializing to go down that route. So yeah, interesting.
Peter Ray's remembering tweenies, Fimbles. Yeah, when I was young, like 5. Pingu, that's another one. Yeah, Pingu.
Oh my god, I loved Pingu.
Yeah, Pingu.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Steve Green's in. Hi there. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain. Are we going back to not driving? I have to look at it as I'm building inventory week by week, and eventually it will work out. Yep. There are a lot of resellers out there who don't drive. It is surprising. Like, it's not, it's not uncommon.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not 100% necessary. It just restricts the options that are open to you. Or
Steve was saying he sourced off, Facebook, Spock, etc. So buy a bundle of something you've got a niche knowledge about, and you can still make money.
I mean, it hasn't harmed Darren, and like Darren, we all know Darren Smart. He's been buying bundles of Gumtree, and what I liked about Darren's attitude to buying things were, even if people were saying, a collection only, it wouldn't harm to send a message out and say, are you sure you won't ship it? I'm happy to pay postage or whatever, and he'd often get deals that in different parts of the country just posted to him that other people wouldn't have gotten just because he asked.
Yeah. And on a similar thread, I'm the Legend there says, I've been doing really well lately buying gaming bundles on Facebook or eBay, then breaking them down and sending into Amazon. Gives me something to focus on over the winter months. Yeah, there's so many ways to do this.
Yeah.
And just because people aren't talking about it, just because we're not saying we're doing it, it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Yeah, and it's simply a matter of adapting to your situation, like what your needs are. So whether you need to be turning over a lot, whether you only need a little bit, how much space you've got, and whether you drive or not. I mean, that it's all things that you have to look at, and then you can adjust how you go out and look for stock. But thankfully, because of all these apps available and more places being willing to actually deliver and do business online. I mean, if you think about it, it wasn't massively long ago that a lot of auction houses didn't have online platforms. It wasn't massively long ago. And there are still the odd auction houses that are in the dark ages and are local only, but they, rather than being good, because a lot of people think, you need to find an auction house which isn't online yet, then you can get stuff at good prices. The problem is, because they're not online, no one takes anything worth anything to them. So the chances are, most of the time, they're going to be full of stuff that isn't worth much money. So yeah, you've not got to contest with online bidding, but you're not going to really find anything half decent, because anyone that thinks they've got something half decent is going to make sure they take it to an auction house which does offer online bidding, and
yeah, it makes sense. So you get the cream of the crop.
Pretty much.
There's a question for me. Do I think I'll ever extend the tack cave? No, because if I gave myself more space, I'd fill it up. This is more than enough. And look at the state of it. I was going to do a video of me just like time lapse tidying this, just to force myself to do it. Oh, Alfie's trying to get it. Oh, he's gone now. He just poked his head through. He's gone now. Oh no, there he is.
It's a pain. Just like, yeah, take that.
Libel says, I think I need a mentor from the Tat Chat group. I'm really struggling at the moment. Maybe you just need to step back from it and ask yourself, you know, if I assume you mean you're not selling a lot of stuff, I don't know, but just look at the items you're selling, because if you've got items that are in demand and you're pricing them competitively, and there's nothing wrong with your listings as, and you've got some decent pictures and a decent description, the stuff will sell. We don't do anything different to what everyone else in this group does. So it might just be a case of stepping back from it and taking a proper hard look at it and the way you're doing things, or maybe start sourcing different items if stuff's not selling. It really isn't rocket science, is it? I don't know what your thoughts are on that, to hear.
Yeah, I think sometimes with this whole kind of mentoring, and I can see the value in terms of just, I don't know, just maybe being reassured. But I think the beauty of a group like the Tat Chat group and the community on there and on Facebook and on Instagram and on YouTube, the beauty is that you should try to maybe get you can get comfort and reassurance from other people in the same situation. Sometimes you might be doing everything right, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the sales are just going to magically appear. And sometimes the problem isn't where you think it is either. There was a long period of time where Beck and I were thinking, oh wow, we need to earn more. And sometimes it's not necessarily always about your earning habits. It's about your spending habits and your budgeting habits. How good are you at tracking the other side of the equation? Because especially if you've come from an environment where you've been working and you get like a steady paycheck at the end of every month, a lot of your kind of you don't need as much financial discipline as you would when you're like working for yourself. And that's something you have to learn. So it might not even be, you might be feeling like, oh, things aren't going great for a number of reasons. And it's not, it's not like I don't think like necessarily a mentor can help, but if you can, share like what issues you think you're having with the group, then I'm sure people can give you examples of their experience, like what they've been through, as it were, to be where they are. Because no one that you speak to, like Nick, myself, we're not just we're not like this takes time. It takes time to get to a stage where you can feel more confident and feel like that things are working for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Libel goes on to say 36 listed. I could list another 50. Well, that's your starting point. List that 50 and then reassess it, and you might magically see a few more items selling. It is sometimes a simple game of numbers. Sometimes it's not about the numbers, it's about the products. Sometimes it's not about the products, it's about the price. Sometimes it's not about that, it's about how you're listing it. So you need to just list those 50 items, set yourself a target of maybe, I don't know, I assume you're part-time, so give yourself a month to get all of that listed, and then step back and take a long, hard look at it and see what's working, what isn't.
Shazaz is absolutely exhausted today, had no help and had 200 orders. Sounds like a lot of fun, Shazad.
Wow. Gary says, I go to 2 auctions every 2 weeks, neither online. Would stop going if they had online bidding.
Really?
Interesting.
Well, if you find things every week, then you've got a good couple of auction houses. But I would think any house clearance guys with any sense would probably be taking their stuff to an auction house that does offer online bidding. Personally, I'd say. Do you know what I mean? Like the one that I know of around here is just garbage. Like, literally, like, it's terrible. Just it's fine that it's not online. I'm happy for it not to be online. This is trash. So I suppose it depends on you've got a good couple of honey holes there.
Steve says, I look at it, if I can make it work with a bus and taxi, When I can drive, it will be a breeze.
Yeah.
And Spock, you can now pay through PayPal, and a lot of people will post. Yeah, I've been trying again to sell on Spock, and I'm still finding it's a lot of time wasters. One particular item, I've had 3 messages come through saying, is this available? I want to buy it. I can pick up. And I reply and say, yes, it's still available. And I hear nothing again. 3 times on one item in the last 3 or 4 days.
And when you look for stuff, it's often got adverts for things which are like a year old and stuff. And you're like, why is this still, it's just ridiculous. Tap Peddler says, my non-online auction is the best. Online bidding ones suck for me. Ah, there you go. Different point of view again. Paul Calvert's got an FBA question. Anyone had an issue sending stock to FBA where they split your shipment to multiple warehouses? They often do that on certain sized products, don't they? So like if you've got a bunch of items and then you've got one specifically large item or something, or just randomly. Yeah, they so do annoying.
If you've been boxing it as you go or weighing it so you get to 15 kilos as I do, and then they say, oh, half of it's going to here and half of it's to there, and then you have to rejig it all. I'm halfway through. There's a box here. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. I can't really see.
Yeah,
that's nearly finished, and that's now got 2 oversize in it, so I'm hoping they're not going to split out the oversize as they sometimes do.
Brandon Campbell says, hey, don't really ask much questions on here, but do you guys use any other selling apps that isn't eBay and Amazon? Personally, no.
I'm dabbling in the Spock. Don't really like it. I've tried Facebook, didn't like it at all. That's about it. Yeah.
Z, do you have your nose pierced? No. I've got a mole there. That might be. I've got a mole on my nose there.
Yeah, it does look like you've had a piercing.
Yeah, no, that's just I've got a mole. It's a mole. It's like one of the, it's not actually like, it doesn't stick out, but it's just on my skin. But yeah, it looks like it.
Aliyah, who is Mukhtar, says, once I sell the records I found, it will help me fund the driving test and the last few lessons I need to pass. Well, best of luck with that. It's so expensive. Oh dear. Such a rip-off. And then when you get your car, they fleece you for insurance because you're a new driver.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better. Yeah. Sorry, Z, I'm not going to make it back before the end. No worries, Carla. Thanks for popping in. It's cool. Question: do you feel that eBay has become more pay to play? Asked Shazad. I mean, Shazad, you probably got a good insight onto that with the volume of business that you're doing, but I definitely feel that the fact that you've got promoted listings certainly points towards that. The fact that if you've, the fact that, I mean, it depends on what you're selling. If you're still selling unique individual items that aren't made in on any scale, then maybe not. But if you're selling, for example, used video games or used games consoles, which you're not the only person selling them, the chances are if someone's paying for a promoted listing and they appear at the top of someone's search or they appear more often on the search page, chances are they're going to get the sale before you without promoting a listing. So yeah, in a sense, it is a bit pay to play. But on the other hand, if you're selling a unique item that nobody else on eBay has, then you're not paying to play. You're the only one. So it's
that's irrelevant then. Sean was asking about FBA then, says FBA turns the items into Prime, doesn't it? Basically, yes, because if you're doing FBA, you're kind of a supplier to Amazon. You can see it that way. And then they ship it as if it's their product for you. So yeah, people can use their Prime benefits. He goes on to say, which means customers are happy to pay £1 more. Well, sometimes they're happy to pay way more than that, because a lot of people search Prime only if they're a Prime customer.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can pretty much ignore the merchant prices.
And I believe that there are certain companies which appear as Prime even though they do their own shipping.
You can apply to
companies, but you'd have to be a big volume established company with a really good feedback, I think. But
I think they're opening up more and more. If you can, you have to apply, I think, to be able to ship as Prime.
Yeah.
And not have it at the warehouse. I'm not sure how it works, but I haven't gone that route. George Ross has got a really interesting comment here. I've learned that reselling really is a skill that you need to learn. It's not just buy and sell whatever, like family and friends tend to think. I think you're right. I think some people are naturally sort of tuned into it. and can grasp it really quick. Other people, it is a long learning curve. And the thing is, you're continually learning, and I'm sure George would agree that every day you learn something. And if you think you've mastered it, then you've failed.
I think also this is where the amount of times we've said you've got to find what works for you, and it sounds cliched, but it's so imperative. And if you don't do it, you're going to make that journey of becoming becoming sufficient that much longer and more painful, because by watching someone else, you're watching how someone else does it, but they're doing whatever they're doing to suit their lifestyle. Now that lifestyle could mean that they only have a set amount of time, they only have a set amount of space, they only have a set amount of investment money, or they only need maybe a set amount of income. You don't know what someone else's situation is. So if you're watching someone else, unless you also mirror their life in all these other areas, if you then start to emulate what they're doing, you might find that you could be doing way too much and overstressing yourself, or what you're doing that you're emulating might not be enough for you, because the person you've emulated doesn't need to work in the way that you need to, but you haven't looked at your situation to judge it. And I think that's why we say, please, try to find your own way. That doesn't mean what that means is that doesn't mean that don't look at bolos and things like that. Look at bolos, look at items that sell, but then figure out how can that fit in to your situation, and will it work for you?
I think you're absolutely right, and it's so important to focus on what you want out of reselling and where you are at any given time. I mean, we've always said we're at kind of different ends of the spectrum of where we're at with this, and we're in a way trying to do less, and you're still at that point where you're trying to build your business the way you want it to be.
But it's such a great contrast, though, because we always say this, but I think it's really important for people to grasp that, and it's something like I feel like I'm preaching about a bit, but I feel like it's important because you'll get there much quicker. It'll be much faster and much less painful process.
And more importantly than that, sometimes, and I think Carla's a good example of this. She says, I kind of do as little as possible. I'm doing reselling. I don't want to speak for Carla, but she said these sort of words where she wants to do less. She doesn't want to work hard. She's chosen this path for X, Y, and Z reasons. Yeah. And that's a lot of the reasons, or a lot of where we are now. It's like, we don't want to work 9 to 5. We don't want to work long hours. We want to do enough that keeps us comfortable. And this gives us that solution. Whereas other people in the reselling world are working super long hours and trying to build it up and trying to create something that's scalable, whatever they're trying to do, and they're kind of in a very different headspace.
Completely.
So you have to work out where you are on that sliding scale of business.
And not to mention, just like that was mentioned earlier in the chat, that the guy from Brum who doesn't often see surfboards at car boots, even where you live has an impact on how you carry out your business. So just because you've seen something work for someone else, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be applicable to you by mere dint of geography. Forget anything else. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't even matter about it. You don't even have to go to the level we've just gone to, which is very important, by the way. But you can even go on that shallow level of, actually, I've seen someone else do really well by selling X, but then you go around looking for X, wasting your time whilst you're missing all this other stuff that you have unique to your area, but you're too busy looking for what you've seen someone else sell at the other end of the country. That's
a good point. Very good point. Yeah, I just want to go back to, we kind of started on this tack. We answered Libel's questions, who was struggling. I didn't mean to gloss over that. And if you want to put a post in the chat group and ask people their opinions and try and get some help, please do. I wasn't trying to brush over it. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be many people that can try and help you out. Oh, there's another comment. Is that a she? I'm not sure. Libel says, I think my problem right now is that I'm selling a lot of my own stuff and I'm too attached to it. which I might reflect in the price. That could be a big part of it. If you're overpricing stuff, 9 times out of 10 it won't sell. So that could be the crux of the problem. Go in and look at the items and then do a search for that item and see what your competition is. Quick way to find out. And then find out if that item is selling anyway. Do completed and then do sold as well. There's a few people mentioning the meetup. Hi, C. Looking forward to meeting you. Huh. How are we doing for time?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah.
God.
Shazad's question: how do you think the second stream of income is helping your business? Do you feel that you're able to retain more money in the business? It's early days yet, Shazad, but yeah, definitely it's obviously had a big impact, a massive impact. So yeah, it's really we've now got to make it super worthwhile by, you know, we like you just mentioned, we really want to go much like faster now, so that, you know, so that Beck doesn't have to be in that situation for any longer than is absolutely necessary. We don't want to jump too quickly, you know. We don't want to make a rush decision, but we want to make sure that we do it when, as you know, we want to be as efficient as quickly as possible, so she doesn't have to be in work for any longer than necessary. But right now it's massive.
Have you seen any obvious change since Beck went back to work? Has the eBay numbers fluctuated? Have you seen a rise?
They've been pretty steady, to be honest. We've not seen a massive there seems
the work was done in advance.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, we're now at the stage now where we're getting pretty much everything is now getting to the point of being listed, and we're starting to see it pick up a little bit, but that's more to do with just the trends, I think, of how RC parts sell. Because I didn't even realize this, but on eBay you can actually see like the you know, how your category trends throughout the year. So it might just be going up to do with that, but it's more of a just, yeah, generally just taking less out of it is the important part. So again, it's for us, it's more to do with like the budgeting side of it, because it's just meaning that we're not taking out this huge chunk of money for the rent and for the council tax from business money, which, to be honest, you should be reinvesting. So when we start,
the lifeblood of a business. And if you don't have the money to reinvest,
then you're exactly, so
shrivels up and dies. Yeah.
So totally.
Definitely. There were some interesting comments. I guess we'll have to wrap up soon, but I want to just talk about, Shazad was saying, I do an average of 50 to 70 hours a week. How do you compare? I never look at how many hours I do, to be honest. I stopped kind of that when we closed the shops, and I'm happy not to really look at the hours. But a few people have gone on Gary, Southwest Sellers, max 20 hours a week. Like Nick, do not want full-time hours, like to do as little as possible. And that's a perfect reflection of people going in a different direction and people wanting different things. Shazad, you know, building this amazing business and doing fantastically well. And whilst I admire that, and I can see myself in that 10 years ago, that's so not where I'm at right now. It's fascinating. And I think it's a lot about self-confidence as well, to know what you want and go for that and be happy when others around you might look at you and think, what the hell are you doing? Why are you not scaling up? Why are you not wanting to earn, you know, 100K a year?
It's about ambition. It's about, and that's a very personal thing, isn't it?
And having ambition is admirable and great, but it doesn't mean you should or I should or somebody else.
No, that's why they call it personal ambition. You know, that's why people ask you, what's your ambition? It's not something that is, you know, it's not like a.
And the other thing, I don't think it's actually easy to nail down and work out what it is you want. And it's taken us a long time, and it changes as well. It evolves.
Yeah.
But to actually ask yourself, what is it you want out of this, isn't necessarily an easy question to answer.
Completely.
Especially when in this world of YouTube and Facebook, there's all these other comparisons. You can look out there. I want to be like that. I want to be like this. I don't want to be like that. But actually finding out what you want and what's going to make you happy is so difficult.
And it will affect how you work as well. Definitely. Totally. I mean, in terms of hours, I don't know. I probably do a fair few. I don't count them. But I know that I've just been working weekends, been doing a fair bit now, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. It's actually feeling less like work in a weird way. And I think that might just be because of the pressure release of having that income, but it's been replaced with a new pressure, but a good pressure, which is, I don't want to be in our current situation for any longer than we need to be. So it's taken like an immediate pressure off, but it's replaced it with a different pressure, but a good one, I think. So that's what I would say. Was it Death by Glamour says, funny you should say that, Z. I think living in Ireland affects my sales. Most of my sales are in the UK, but I've had 3 messages this week complaining of postage costs, even a partial refund. Death by Glamour, I completely understand where you're coming from there. Definitely. I mean, that will have an impact because, unfortunately, the market is not going to give you any leeway for living in Ireland and having to pay, having to charge higher postage costs to send your items to people. And the UK, eBay UK is a huge marketplace. And obviously a lot of your stuff is going to be sold there, and the cost, you're not going to have what's available to someone that's living on mainland in mainland England, in the UK. So I do sympathize with you for that, but it's a very good point that you have to look at your individual situation.
I was just reading I'm the Legend, Ash there says, I think the problem a lot of people find when starting reselling is they expect to make a lot of money within a short period of time. Goes on to say, realistically, it's something you build up over time alongside another source of income. And I still think that's the perfect situation. If you have a job that you enjoy, that's the key. Reselling alongside is win-win. And then he says, at least until it's sustainable enough to take the plunge into full-time. I think that's wise words. If you can go that way.
Paul Calvert's also here said, that's the main reason why I'm still working. I'm reinvesting constantly. Yeah, completely. It's so important. It is so important. Sean Gilbert says, all my capital plus profits I reinvest. I know it'll be different once I'm full-time employed and I'll be back to square one, but this time self-employed. But if you can do that, then that is going to be the way to strengthen what you're doing from day one. I mean, and that's something that's slowed us down, where we could be a lot further on by now, because if we were being able to reinvest for that bit longer. But sometimes, again, it's unique to you. We're the kind of people that we probably had to do it the way we did it. We like to do things, I don't know, rash isn't the right word, but we almost get, there's a buzz to it. I can't explain it, and it doesn't sound right because we are a family with kids, and we have responsibilities, but we're not afraid of putting ourselves in situations. And sometimes I feel like I think on some level deep down, I think we kind of enjoy putting ourselves in situations. I know it sounds really silly, but I think we do. And when we come through it, it just feels so good.
I know. I think you'll look back and say, in a few years, you'll look back and go, wow, I'm so proud of what I did, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Basically. I'm not, we would never say to, anyone else.
Just quickly, Stephen, I think from about 12 o'clock, but people are going to be off in town doing charity shops and stuff. So really sort of, from 12, there should be somebody around. Catherine says, I need something to fill my time since my husband died last year. So sorry to hear that. She says, so that's why I resell. Obviously, I don't want to lose money, but that's not the motivation. See, there's another completely different motivation for wanting to resell.
And thank you for sharing, because I think that's such it shows how broad the reasons can be. I think sometimes when you're talking about business, finance, things like that, it automatically puts it into like a narrow band of your mind starts thinking in a very narrow band, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like money, business, making money, but your motivations can be so far removed from that. And that's that reason there is as good a reason as any to to run your business how is right for you.
And perhaps a good one to read out as well here, which kind of cements some of the things we were saying before about circumstance. Stu Mandry says, people have different circumstances. Some people need 50k a year just to pay the bills, which is very true. and feel secure. Some people can live like kings on 25k. We're all different, and that's the thing. And nobody really knows, going back to YouTube, for example, you don't know the backstory. You don't know what the outgoings are. And that's half the equation. I think that was what you said earlier about you have to look at the other half of the equation, the outgoings.
Yeah, because sometimes it's not
the income. If not more important than the income.
Completely.
Is the outgoings. And if they're tiny, then a moderate wage is actually fantastic.
I mean, it's the reason why you sometimes hear those horrible stories like the millionaire guy that when they went broke and it's like but how can that happen? He was a millionaire. Well, because he still wasn't as good with his money as he should have been.
Yeah, or the pop stars that made it big in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're bankrupt 10 years later.
The amount of footballers, the 75% of lottery winners.
Yep.
It's
they spent it all and bought stuff on credit, and then when the creditors come knocking, they're like, "But I don't have any left."
I mean, that's the weird thing, that 75% of people who win the lottery actually go bust. How can you go bust after winning the lottery?
Because they spend it all on crap.
And more. They were actually better off without.
Yeah, because I don't know. I assume they get offered mortgages for like a £20 million house and go, yeah, go on then.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
How are you going to sustain that without?
I think everyone always remembers that bin man guy with the sovereign rings. He won like 10 million quid and bought a big house and was having dirt bike and cocaine parties at his house.
Parties.
Yeah, and now he's back being a bin man. It's like, wow. Just credit to him for actually being able to do it, like mentally though, actually, in a way, because I don't know how you could do that, like to have that much money and then lose it all and then go back to your old job.
Yeah,
but that takes some mental strength.
Maybe in a weird way, that's where he was actually comfortable and he's happier there. You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
There's a lot of very happy bin men about.
Pixie Dust Gaming says, oh gosh, I've lost it. I don't think I could go back to another person telling me what to do. I already shout and tell myself off. That's bad enough. Treasure Part says, it's a real buzz like gambling, but where you can't really lose. Yeah. Wow. I know what you means. He says, Libelle, when I spotted this wine opening set from Le Creuset in the charity shop for £2, I had guilty as charged written all over my face. It was one heck of a buzz. Okay. Wow, it's actually 7:05 now. There's a lot of chat coming. I'm sorry for all the chat that we haven't been able to read out. There's so many comments coming through. They've been really great.
Yeah,
it's been a really eye-opening chat, actually.
Yeah, where the chat sometimes takes us. And I mean, I know we do repeat ourselves, but it's interesting to hear different people's takes on reselling and the reasons why we do it and our motivations and stuff. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
and I think it's really worth talking about, because it reminds people that we're all on a different journey and we shouldn't compare or try and justify what we're doing or why we're doing it a certain way.
Yeah, and having an idea, like you said, it's not as easy as it sounds just to work out what you want. Like with so many influences, like you mentioned, that is an important point. To actually nail down what is it that you want from this, because it is more than just a job. It is more than just it's important. It's
yeah,
I won the lottery and blew all my £10 winnings on some scratch cards as BCP.
Oh, you've got a super chat from Rob there.
Oh wow, yeah, Krillin 876. Hi Rob, thank you. US $5. In the UK, you have the benefits of NHS. In the US, most people are trapped in the corporate or government jobs to keep healthcare. If I had a family, I wouldn't do eBay. See, I think that's such a good point as well, because even visit to a clinic can be like $80, can't it? Like a basic checkup, that we take for granted. And God forbid, should you become ill or your child become ill, I mean, I thought there were some benefits though towards people that are self-employed for a certain amount, but I don't know the rules, obviously. But that's a very good point though, that we do have free at the point of access.
Yeah. Well, we do a very good job of slagging off the NHS to death in this country, but I think it's an admirable
Mm.
service.
Completely, yeah. It's a political football. That's all.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
absolutely. You
that's all it
score
is.
points on it. Yeah.
But to have free medical care. I mean, the fact that if you break your arm and you're in agony, the fact that I know I can get free at the point of access care is very, very. It's a source of relief
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
believe it or not, as painful as your broken arm is, until you can fill out that board with your credit card and insurance number information, they will just leave you. They will actually just leave you in that pain. They might sell you some morphine tablets or something. I don't know, but it's just the good point, Krillin.
Racers.
Nick, you could go through the chat replay, and answering missed questions could bring some good video ideas.
I just read that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Ray, I doubt Zahir would back me up on this. I don't think we have the hours that would take.
Yeah,
we struggle to remember to do the chat and come up with a topic.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this chat was so. I mean, look, I don't even have a title for it. I mean, we love doing it, and we absolutely love the comments and the questions that we do get, and we do try. But yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea for a video though, to go through questions and just answer some questions. But I might just do some Q&A videos, maybe do some Q&A videos. I don't know.
Or you could oh no, that's Facebook. I was going to say you could put a post up in the chat asking for questions.
Yeah, you could do that.
I could. I'll nick that idea.
Okay. While we were on holidays, NHS was fantastic to my daughter when she smashed her teeth. Says Death. Oh wow, painful. But yeah.
RJ just says we all need to be more thankful for the NHS. I firmly believe that. Yeah. We love to whinge in this country, but it's an amazing service.
Yeah. Okay, guys. It is 7:10. We've been chewing the fat for over an hour. It's been very, very informative. Like, we feel like when we start these topics off, and like you said, you never know where the chat's going to take you. We've had some absolutely amazing comments, and it's really brought a lot of interesting depth to the chat, and we really appreciate it. So thank you everyone for joining us. I've put Nick's link in the description as if you haven't already subscribed, but in case you haven't, go over there and do it.
Thank you.
It's just like, yeah. So thank you for popping in. Thanks as always, Nick. Weekly chat is
it's a pleasure.
It's just standard now, isn't it? We were just
It's a pleasure. We'll be back next Tuesday on my channel, where we may well be talking about what we got up to over the weekend. We'll try and get some guests on and have a panel show next week.
Yeah, for those of you going to the meetup, hope you have an amazing weekend. If it's anything like the one I went to last time, it will be a lot of fun. You guys will enjoy it. So thank you very much for joining. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Cheers. Take care.